Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Earthen's Den. And in this episode, I want to talk to you guys about the real pandemic, right? So I understand, and I'm not negating the fact that people have died from this virus that has spread across our country, across our nation. And I'm in no space am I negating that. But what I want to talk to you guys about today is that the effect and the suffrage that women are dealing with today. I don't think people realize that it hasn't been very long since women have had the right to vote and the freedom to even have bank accounts. You know what I mean? Yes, there was definitely a time in history where women were not able to go to the bank and to withdraw money or even to really view accounts and all of those things unless they had a husband's signature. And so, what I really want to talk to today is about this suffrage that women are going through. I think as a woman, you guys can relate, you feel it, you understand it. But let's just talk about how it's not something that I don't think you could really understand. And maybe if you are a guy and you're listening, maybe you can just listen in. But it's one of those things to where it's you will never really know what it's like to be a woman. The pressures that we face on the day to day, to bore life, to raise children, to be all of these roles, right? And even in regards to a traditional stance, from a maternal sense, and then coming into this space that we are in now, where we really are in a space in our lives where, we are definitely being a little bit more assertive in regards to what it is that we want. And I think that it's coming off as aggression, it's coming off as a dominance, and it's really sad because, a lot of it's men who are ruling this narrative. It's men who are projecting this narrative. You have men who are online who have these mass platforms who are telling women that they're going to be alone for the rest of their lives. I've even had, my own grandfather say something to me. He murmured something in regards to just it's going to be hard for me to find someone, and all of these things. And I just think that when we have this narrative, we're in a space where we feel like we have to settle. I think that when women start to feel this way, I think we start to settle for whatever comes, we start to settle for whatever's in our way, or we even go to the opposite side, right? We start to harden ourselves, right? We start to become this overly aggressive, this bitter woman, you know what I mean? And so, you don't really see a healthy balance in between the two, because what society is doing is it's taking our needs, our wants, and our desires, and it's really twisting it and telling us, hey, if you're going to go out and you're going to chase your dreams and you're going to make your own decisions, and you're going to be somebody who is a fellow individual and a human in today's society, you're going to make your own money, you're not part of this collective. You know what I mean? You're not part of this society. You are so far gone, right? And it's really just because there's a misunderstanding. I think, having been a woman who has grown up and has been somebody who's independent. I've never been the type of person to really rely on anybody to do anything for me. I don't believe that that's a masculine trait. I believe that what that is a humanistic characteristic. And I just think that overall in society, when it comes to women, and it comes to us being our own individuals, it's not something that's praised. It's not something that's celebrated, and it's really saddening because when you really think about it, we break this thing on down even to the tiny, microscopic organism. There would be no life without the woman. There would be no life. There would be no you. There would be no me. There would be no us. And just to really think about everybody who's listening, really think about your mother and everything that she has sacrificed for you, and I just think it's something that women don't talk about. And so you have women who are recognizing, hey, my mother sacrificed for me. I want to compensate for her. I want to live out my dreams. I want to, chase my goals. I want to make a way for my family. Today's society, what people have to understand, and I think this is something that we don't really grasp, is that the truth of the matter is that relationships and marriages really lasted when we were younger because we were in such a space where women as women, we didn't really have the capability or the ability or the education or whatever it is that we needed. I think most importantly, the support and the vehicles to really go after and provide for ourselves. That was not a thing. This here, what we're doing, women being, in the top, 1%, in the 1 percentile in regards to just careers and, our compensation and all those things. It's something that's very rare. That's not something that has been going on for a very long time. And so I think that society has a very hard time adapting to this, and I think that a lot of people are, they're trying to understand what this is, right? They're understanding what it is. And I think you have a lot of guys who, I don't believe that it's a sense of intimidation, but I think that it's, they kind of want you to play small. They want you to slow down. They want you to shut up. They want you to be very meek. They want, okay, let me just finish this. They want you to be meek in a sense because, they don't want you to outdo them. They don't want you to outwork them. They don't want you to get further ahead than them because so many guys in our society are further behind, right? And I think a big part of that is because I feel like when it comes to traditionalism and just like values and things like that, what a woman can do for a man is just something that men don't realize. I don't think that it's a concept that most men can really grasp. Women can really take things and multiply them. That's what we're here for. In the biblical sense, right? The woman is the helpmate, all of these things. And so I think that what a lot of men struggle with is just that concept and recognizing like, man, if I had a really strong and powerful woman on my team, right, she could take this to the next level. But, women are in a space where we're recognizing, hey, we're not going to be used for our gifts. We want to be cherished. We want to be appreciated. And like I said, you have some women who are, it's two sides of the spectrum, right? You have women who are recognizing this pandemic and they're saying, you know what, I'm just going to chase my dreams. I'm going to do what it is that I'm going to do because I'm going to provide a life for myself regardless if a man comes into my life or not. And honestly, I encourage that side of the totem pole for a lot of women, because it's one of those things where you have to recognize that you are an individual, okay? You are an individual. You're going to die an individual. At the end of the day, you have a purpose on your life. Your life has meaning. You have gifts. You have dreams. You have talents that you need to fulfill for you. And if you do have a family, if you do have a mother who has suffered or who has sacrificed so much for you, step into that space and rise to the occasion. I think that when it comes to today's society, especially, we just have to recognize that it is such a beautiful time to be alive. It's a beautiful time to be born, right? Never in history has there been so many opportunities for women to really chart these paths. I think one of the things that make women great entrepreneurs and business women and philanthropists and all of these things is our ability to organize, our ability to multitask. Women are just so strong and so beautiful. And I just wanted to let everybody know it's okay to be in that space. It's okay to be in your strength and in your power. And, don't feel like you have to diminish yourself or minimize who you are as an individual on this earth because of a man, And I think the saddest part about it is, I'm not here to continue to portray or to contribute to this narrative that we don't need men, right? We don't need men. They're nothing. They're discarded. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I am letting people know and what I am portraying is that you be you. You know what I mean? You be you, you chase your dreams, and you do what it is that you want to do for your life, because it's your life, and you're the only person who's going to live it. I think for me, what I always considered was I never wanted to look up and have made a decision based on fear. Oh, my gosh, I'm going to be alone. I don't want, you know what I mean? And I think what really saddens me is that you have, 20-year-olds and, girls who are in their later 20s and who think this way. It's really saddening because, at the end of the day, I think that it is God's plan, but I also think that it's your mentality and your manifestations that is attracting that or even causing the suffering. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like, what you have to recognize is when it comes to love and those things, let it come to you. I think for me, when it came to people, I talked about this in the last episode, I just got to a space in my life where I just was no longer manifesting people. I was really done with that. I really was done with that. I think for me, it was one of those things to where it was like I was going to live out my purpose. I was going to live out my dreams. I was going to do what made me happy, right? And what you have to understand is, okay, if you've been single for quite some time now, you are going to be a lot more adapted to self, right? You're going to be very adapted to yourself. You're going to be kind of like setting your ways in some ways. And it may be in a negative sense, but what you have to recognize is that you got to know yourself. You got to know your heart. If you've been single for some time, you have to realize, okay, am I a selfish person, right? Am I somebody who can be in a space where I am willing to compromise, but I just want to say this too, like, as a little side note, being 23 and being in your early 20s, and I don't really care what anybody has to say. I just think, in your early 20s, I don't really feel you should compromise so much on your life. I don't think you should compromise so much in regards to what it is that you want to do. Like, if you're young, you're healthy, you're beautiful, that's most of y'all, like, listening. If you're a woman, you're beautiful to somebody, right? You got good health. It's just no reason for you to sacrifice so much of your life for a relationship or for somebody. I think 9 times out of 10 when you're young, you don't really make the best relationship choices anyway. Honestly, I know this is going to probably be like a TMI or, unpopular opinion, but I think when it comes to relationships in your early 20s, it's something that's really overrated. It really is, you guys. And the reason why I say that is because you don't really know who you are. You have no idea what you're capable of. You have no idea what you can do. You have no idea of your impact. You're still very young in your early 20s. And when I say young and I talk about youth, it's a beautiful thing, right? And take advantage of it. But most importantly, recognize that, in your early 20s, right, you're still very young. Like, when you move out of the house, and, for me, I moved out. I went to college when I was 17. Like, I was 17 years old when I was at college. I went to my first bar, so my life was completely different. But, what I'm saying is that when you're very young, you don't know what you don't know, right? You haven't been to Australia. I'm not saying you have to travel across the country to meet people or to gain certain experiences, but what I am saying is that you just don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? And you don't really have the adequate amount of exposure or experience, rather, to make relational choices that are really going to be beneficial, contingent upon your future. And I just think that that's something that I wish people would express. I think another thing that we really have to get into is normalizing breakups. When you're young, if something's not fitting, if something's not gelling, if something's not working, there's no reason to stay and stick it out. I think that this whole culture of, making it work is full of crap. Honestly, I really do. And the reason why I feel like it's full of crap is because what it does, first of all, normalizing toxic relationship, people have normalized toxic relationships. We've normalized being silenced. We've normalized being misunderstood. We've normalized a unhealthy level of compromise and sacrifice, and it's really just saddening, I think, at the end of the day. And, if you ask me from my personal experience, I'm going to be completely transparent. Of course, I don't want to be alone for the rest of my life. Of course, I want to be married. I want to be a mother, right? We all have those instincts within us because we are women, right? We have maternal instincts. That's just what we want. That's what we want to do. But at the end of the day, you really got to live your life for you. I think you should set a foundation for your life, regardless if a man comes in it or not, so you can be happy regardless, and I think that you should be happy regardless anyway, because, you can only be the best version of you. If you're not the best version of yourself, and when I say the best version, I struggle with this because I felt like it was a perfected image, right? And when I say the best version of you, I'm talking about you've done the things that God has called you to do. You have been in a space where you've really started to manifest on a lot of things that you wanted to do. Like, if you wanted to be a vet and you have a guy who's like, man, I really am trying to be, I don't know, like a musician. He's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. That's not really going to gel well. And I know people say that it's possible, but I think that it's really something said about being with somebody who can support your dreams. You know what I mean? And I think as a woman, you just shouldn't sacrifice so much of yourself for anybody, because you're beautiful and you have so many gifts and so many things to contribute to the world. And a lot of men are going to agree with it. A lot of men are going to give you a lot of crap about it. But at the end of the day, ask them, what do they want for their daughters? Exactly. So, I think that, you have to recognize that, when it comes to your life as a woman, you're an individual. And I know society has, really cultivated us to think that we're nothing. Our minds are nothing. We all think the same. We all want the same things. Like, I was a girly girl in a sense, but at the same time, there were other things that were really dear to my heart. I was really passionate about art. You know what I mean? Like, just the entire concept of art. That was my thing. Like, that was what I was about. And so I was an artist. And so for me, when it came to those girly girl things, it wasn't those things that really spoke to me. First of all, when it came to fashion, when it came to those things, it came easily to me. When I grew up, I had a very slim figure, so I could fit into most clothing. And, I loved it. My dad was an entrepreneur. He had his own clothing brand. And, me and my sister would sit and play in our closet. I have a twin, if you guys don't know. I have a twin sister, and we would sit and play in our closet for hours on end. We would take off our lampshade, and we would just play in all of our clothes and just take pictures of different outfits and things like that. On the weekends, I would shop, and, I was really blessed, in my childhood years in regards to just that aspect of my life. And so, to me, it was something that came so easily and so effortlessly. And though I was passionate about it and though I loved it, it was other things about me that mattered. And so, I said this to say, it's just like, get to know you. Get to know you and allow others to get to know you if you are considering, making this person the number one. You know what I mean? And I just think that that's just the main thing. And so, I don't know, I'm probably going to title this podcast For the Ladies. But, it's a real thing, and I just want to tell all my young girls out there, stay focused on your goals, stay focused on what it is that you want to do. It's going to get tough. I think that the road gets very dark at times, it's going to be very lonely, but just pray and just know that you're not alone. And listen to this podcast back to back. If you are, I'm talking very slow because I want you guys to really feel me on this. I want you guys, because I'm really passionate about the youth, I think if anybody was to ask me what it is that I wanted to do, and it would just be to inspire the youth, to impact young girls and to mentor them. And to, that's like my main thing. I have a lot of interest. I have a lot of talents. I have many gifts, and there are many things I'm going to pursue. But in the end, it's giving back to my community, right, in regards to women. So that's like my main thing. And it's really just because I just feel like overall we're so battered, and we're just, nobody really understands our pain. And I'm going to make another podcast to you guys, and I just wanted to share this really quick because it was on my mind. Definitely be, checking here and looking out for the podcast in regards to friendship. I want to talk to you guys about this because, this is something that I think that women and young women and women just in general have to really understand the importance of sisterhood. We don't, when it comes to men and when it comes to life, we already got so many people beating on our door, you know what I mean? And hear me clearly, this isn't in regards to victimization, but we are going to speak the truth here. You know what I mean? We're going to speak the truth, and this is a safe place. I feel like when it came to Earthen's Den, that's all I wanted it to be, was a space of comfort, a space of peace. We're not going to sit in this space and act like we're not dealing with certain things, or there's something wrong with us having emotion, or we're too emotional. I'm not with that. I think when it comes to emotion, it's important to have a sisterhood, because I feel like sometimes when it comes to men, depending on the demographic or just, men in general, I couldn't really say, I just feel like in that entire space, there wasn't really any room for emotional connection, not really. I think when it came to men, oftentimes they weren't really in tune with their emotions. I don't think that you meet a lot of men who are actually self-aware. I think that it's very rare when you meet a man who's self-aware and knows his feelings and knows what he's feeling and is aware of what he's been through, and he's willing to own it and accept it and talk about it. He's transparent, and, you can benefit in the relationship from that way. And so I think with a lot of women, the truth is that the sad truth, right? And the sad truth, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't realize, is that, we don't really get a lot of our emotional needs met, especially in relationships. It's something that we just don't, it just doesn't happen for us, very seldomly. And so I think that a lot of times, women are in relationships where they're unhappy, and, the situation may be great, it may be healthy, your friends, your family may be rooting for it, or whatever the case may be, but in the end, you're not happy. And I just want to let everybody know that that's enough. That reason alone is enough to leave, period. You know what I mean? Don't ever stay in a space where you're unhappy. I think that society teaches us you're going to be alone and all these things. And I think, honestly, it's a fear that you need to really face. You know what I mean? Be willing to walk that fear out if it means you're suffering. You know what I mean? In your unhappiness, because it's just not worth it. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it. And so I think for me, like, I just wanted to just kind of share that with everybody because it's real. It's definitely real. And you're worthy. Man, you're so worthy. You're so great. And women are great. So, that's just kind of like a little bit of like what it is that I want to do. And just kind of like my tips to women. I don't know what I'm going to label this podcast. I'm probably going to have to play it back because I don't know. But that's just kind of like my tips to women and relationships and just like life. You're so much more than your body. You're so much more than what people try to make it seem. You know what I mean? Even if you don't necessarily have all of the credentials, everything that it is that you want to do in fruition, you're still worthy, right? So like even if you don't have, Hermes money, you're still worthy. You know what I mean? Even if you don't have Sinatrans money, you're still worthy. You know what I mean? So just recognize that because just as a woman in itself, your presence, your aura, your cadence, your temperance, like it's beautiful. And to me, it's beautiful. And just recognize that. And it's okay to be kind. It's okay to be soft in those spaces with yourself. I would say that when it comes to the world and when it comes to people, when it comes to men, you have to be discerning. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right, period. Just period. I think there's one thing to be afraid, right? But I think there's another thing to know. And unfortunately, you just have to... Sorry, y'all, it's my speaker. You just have to really just be in a space where it's like you can understand that and recognize that and know the difference. You know what I mean? But in the end, do what's best for you. Especially if you're young, if you're a young woman, do what's best for you. Don't listen to a lot of older women. I really wish older women wouldn't always talk about, okay, let me say this. I really wish that when it came to older women, their stories weren't so glorified because I really feel like their horror stories really, push younger women into relationships and situations like that they shouldn't be in. And regardless, I really feel like this is true. Like, I feel like if you can, if you really sit and ask a lot of women who may have been in situations that did not serve them best, in their 40s or whatever, I really believe that a lot of that has been influenced by, older women. And the reason why I say that is because, in this world, women, we really need, we got to come together. We have to come together. But most importantly, I really feel like we really look to one another, for advice, for peace, for stillness, for a place of comfort, because it's not offered anywhere else in the world, right? The sad truth was that when it came to a lot of men, they really viewed that as weakness. I don't really feel like men sit in a space and like, man, she's vulnerable. I love it. I love that. That's not true. And the reason is because we respect people who are like us. We like people who are like us. And so I feel like when it came to a lot of men who are strong and all those things, they wanted a strong woman at the end of the day. And so, I talked about that previously. It's like you really have to be in a space where you're understanding that you have to find a balance, of course, right? Life is balance. You have to realize that, okay, am I too far on the totem pole to where I'm aggressive? Especially, and here's the thing, there's something wrong with your aggression if you do not want to be in a relationship with a man. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you feel like that's your aura, that's your MO, that's fine. But if you do, I don't necessarily think you need to change, but I think you need to just ask yourself, like, am I aggressive because I'm scared? Am I aggressive because I've been hurt? Am I aggressive because I feel like I need to protect myself and I can't trust? You know what I mean? Or you say, hey, am I aggressive because this is just who I am as a girl? I've grown up like this. I'm a tomboy. Then if that's the case, accept yourself. You know what I mean? And then I think the other totem pole is like, okay, am I playing a role? Right? Am I playing a role as this soft, sweet, innocent, weak girl when I know this person is not meeting my standards, right? Or when I know this person is not really doing it for me, you know what I mean? Or am I just in this space because I know family and friends and loved ones, whoever is rooting for this person, you know what I mean? Am I in this space of like vulnerability because I feel like I realize it makes this other person feel better about themselves? You have to really be honest with yourself in regards to these questions and recognize like, hey, who do I want to be? And I really just feel like when it comes to your early 20s and your early years, dating is overrated. I really do. Like, I think when it comes to knowing what it is that you want, I hear people, they say you got to date to know what you want. I hear y'all. But the reason why I disagree with that statement is because you don't really know what it is that you want, right? Like you wanted that bag, or you wanted those shoes, you wanted that purse that you couldn't afford. You know what I mean? And you got it, and now you're in this situation, right? Like, come on, I think I'm talking to my young ladies right now, because we've all been in that space, right? And the thing is like, I really believe that you have to rely on God. And I think that you have to just kind of rely on just like the universe to just kind of bring you that into your life. And you have to be patient with it. You know what I mean? Be patient. Take your time to get to see, like, is this really what I need? Right? Is what is being brought forward to me what it is that I need? Like, and I had to realize that, everybody who comes into your life is not worth being entertained. Every knucklehead that comes into your life is not worth being entertained. Like, period. You know what I mean? Like, just because and think about being a young, beautiful woman, you're going to get a lot of people who you attract, like, period. You're going to get the whole, ladies, from the hobos to the, you know what I mean? And I'm not speaking negatively about anybody's situation, but I'm just saying, you're going to attract a lot of people in your life, so you just have to recognize that everybody is not worth being entertained. And I think I was thinking about this today, rather, when I was running on my run. I thought to myself, wow, it's so true. The thing about entertaining everybody is like, that's like hiring everybody for the position. You didn't go to a job. It's been many jobs that you didn't get. You were probably a great candidate, but you weren't a good fit for the company, so they didn't hire you. So you have to recognize, like, when it comes to your heart and your life, like, start trying to address things like that in your personal life. Start addressing things like that in your personal life, not just only in your business, not just only in, regards to your academics or, whatever it is you got to do, whatever it is that you do. Like, start addressing people in a sense where it's like, okay, just because this person wants to be my friend, are they worthy to be my friend? I feel like this is even in regards to like relationships and friendships. It's like, I realized for me, everybody didn't deserve to be my friend, and I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. I'm not putting myself all the way up. No, you know what I mean? But I definitely have standards for myself. And the thing about standards, you guys, young ladies, is that you have to understand that society is going to knock you down for having standards. I think when a woman steps into a position, it's tough for her. It's tough for her in a sense because, she just... Nope, it's such a powerful position that people don't want to see it. You know what I mean? Men are angry at it. It's just a multitude of things. You have some people who support you and just try to focus on that aspect. But anyway, a lot of people think that when it comes to friendships, people think that, especially in today's age anyway, people think that when it comes to being a friend, it's sharing Instagram posts. It's, liking photos. It's going to get drinks. It's just taking cute pictures. It's doing those things. But, to me, I had a different definition of what it meant to be a friend. You know what I mean? And I think for me, it was like to step into a space and call somebody my friend. That I just knew for myself, that looked completely different. So, you have to just figure out what works for you and define things for your own definition. You know what I mean? And so I think for me, I'm probably going to name this podcast like defining... I don't know, I'm going to figure it out. But anyways, I really hope that this is beneficial. I've been on here for like 30 minutes and I just been pouring out my heart and just kind of how I feel about a lot of things, man, because I'm fed up with it. And I just don't think that it's right. I don't like to see women suffering in such great pain, because your body looks like this or because you look like that. I feel like if you're somebody who's dealing with a breakup or anything like that, understand that it's those things right there you need to be thankful for. I just got to a point in my life where I said thank you when people were removed out of my life. And what you also have to realize too is when you recognize your value and you have a strong sense of self-worth, sometimes people don't want to let you go. And so sometimes you have to take the cord. You have to be the person to cut the cord, and be willing to be that person. Don't be afraid to let go of something because you think that there's something else out there. I really believe that scarcity is something that lives in the mind. And most importantly, when it comes to men were great. Like, I feel like men were great. They were strong. I felt like when I had okay, let me say this. I feel like men were great. Men were strong. I felt like having a great man was beautiful. You felt safe. You felt protected. You felt all of those things, right? But let me just say this. When it comes to men can be very needy. They can need a lot. They can, and I'm not saying, oh, you want to be with somebody who's needed. That's not what it is. It's just, regardless, women were strong, okay? Men, not so much, and I know that society is kind of convincing us that men are this. They're putting, it's almost like society is I'm sorry, you guys. I feel like society is, in many ways, it's preying on a woman's maternal instincts in regards to being a mother and being a wife and, those traditional aspects that we have within us that has been just like embodied, from our ancestral times or whatever. They're preying on that. And so they're saying, you don't really want to be alone, or you really want kids, whatever the case may be. And so I feel like in many cases they're putting men at this pedestal, so that's why I feel like you have a lot of people who are just like spewing all this negativity in regards to women and calling women out for being this and that and this, for chasing their dreams and making means for themselves. I think if you are an individual, period, as an individual, as a human being on this earth, as God's child, and you're waiting for somebody to take care of you, you are gladly mistaken. Like, you are the fool. You know what I mean? Like, that's foolish. Like, that's ridiculous, And so that's all I kind of wanted to say today. I've been talking for 31 minutes. I think this is probably the longest podcast that I've ever did, and I feel like it. But there was just a lot of things that I just kind of had to get off my chest and, just really share with people. And I just want y'all to know, like, at the end of the day, you got to do this for you. This is your life. You have to live it. And I really believe that once you start to live your life and live it on purpose and live with intentionality and be happy with yourself, you can attract that. Whatever you chase will run. So let it go. Let it flow. Don't stress about it. Trust me, I'm telling you right now, like, it's not what you think. Being in relationships is not what you think. It's a lot of compromise. You got to be ready for that mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You got to be ready to share your life with a person like that and find somebody who's worth it. Okay, ladies, you get to pick. You're gonna have many candidates. You're gonna have many men who are lined up, honey. You get to pick. You get to decide what you want to entertain. You get to pick the lucky guy. Okay, you're the bachelorette. It's not the bachelor anymore. It's you're the bachelorette. Okay, so just understand that, you know what I mean? And I'm not a relationship coach. I'm not a guru. I don't want to be in that space. Don't put me in that space. I just want to deliver some self-confidence to women because I just feel like it's a pandemic right now. I feel like a lot of women don't know how to be themselves. They don't know how to date. They don't know how to, you know what I mean? And the thing is, all you got to do is be you. Period. And this is the thing, you guys. Let me just say this too. I'm gonna make another podcast episode on this. I'm gonna write it down, y'all. I promise. But when it comes to being an underdog, if you're a girl who gets overlooked, people ain't really digging on you, you haven't really had a lot of experience, blah blah blah, that's fine. This is what you're gonna do. Let me tell you. I'm speaking to my underdog, so hear me clearly, y'all. Turn me up. Turn up the bass. No, I'm kidding. Understand this, like, period. If you are somebody who is the underdog, nobody's checking on you, whatever, understand that you are in the greatest position. Why? Because you get to figure out who you want to be. Figure out who you want to be before you come to the light and people tell you who you are and who you should be, and what they want from you and how you should act. And you know what I mean? So understand that that's your greatest advantage. And I've learned to be at peace with me being in the back over here on Anchor. I'm with it. You know what I mean? I'm totally with it. And so I just really wanted to share that with everybody. Like, really get into that space and be content with who you are and where you're at in your life and be okay with that, So I hope that this doesn't offend anybody because, like I said, I'm not a relationship coach. I'm not a guru. Like, I'm not trying to be in that space. I'm just a girl. Okay, I'm not even going to play myself. I'm pretty great. I have a little bit of, I've got some wisdom. I know how to apply knowledge to certain situations. I am doing pretty well for myself in my life. And I've learned a lot. I learned a lot in my life. And so, I want to share it. So honestly, I'm not even going to end this with that BS humble like closing because, yeah, I'm it. I'm the real thing, But I just wanted to share that with everybody. So in the end, This is your life, and really get clear on what does the quote unquote American dream look like for you. What does freedom look like for you? And notice I said freedom. Freedom. Hello, freedom. 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 I have it on my rug. Freedom. What does it look like for you? I'm going to leave everybody with their thoughts.